Okay,
There we go.
Okay, welcome everyone. Today is Monday, the 30th of May. We welcome all of you to Online Presenters, the most famous virtual online club since its inception 5 years ago. So we're excited that you're all here and joining us. We look forward to growth. And when we say growth, we mean growth not just for the club, but growth in your personal career and journey in Toastmasters. This club, as I said before, is 5 years old, and this frame next to me, David Carr, is the founder of the club. Back in 2017, when we were doing virtual, nobody even knew what virtual was, not until the pandemic. So we were ahead of the line there. We welcome everybody. This meeting is recorded for marketing purposes and for your ability to go back and see how you did. The other thing is, because it is being recorded and because there are cultural differences amongst our very diverse group of individuals that are members of this club, please watch your language. From there, I just want to introduce the first speaker, the Toastmaster of the day, actually, is David Carr. And I turn the stage over to him, and he will introduce those helping him in this meeting. Go ahead, David.
All right, terrific. As I mentioned a moment ago, this is Memorial Day in the United States. I think different days are observed in different countries around the world, but I often notice that people get a little bit bollocksed up, confused over Memorial Day, and they say it's Memorial Day, so let's recognize our veterans. Memorial Day, of course, is to honor the people who didn't get a chance to become veterans because they were blown up, they were shot, they were injured in a training accident. And so this is a day to recognize those who went off in service to their country and did not get the chance to come back and grow old. And that does not mean that we should not recognize veterans. We have Veterans Day for that. And perhaps you can recognize your veterans on any day. But just remember that the purpose of Memorial Day is to give some sense of memory to those who did not come back from war or from service. And so we'll have just a very brief moment of silence. And I said we'd be brief because that's not the main purpose of this meeting. The purpose is to come together and to learn and to reinvigorate our skills. There I am, we're using the word of the day for once. I usually forget for the entire meeting. Let's reinvigorate our skills and our lives and our careers and our role in our community and use this meeting as a method to do that. One of the newer things we've been doing at our meetings is a tech tip. And so this is kind of cheating because I like to talk about things involved with the website and the setup. But a lot of times when I'm trying to introduce people, I'll be trying to teach them the basics of WordPress and sell them on the idea that they can learn this skill and take it to their club. So timer, by the way, this is supposed to be 3 to 5 minutes, so don't let me ramble on. But I wanted to show a couple of productivity tools that are built into the website. So software is supposed to make us more productive. It doesn't always, of course. But for example, I can look at next week's meeting and I can see that there's an open role. And actually, I had this role. I was going to be Toastmaster today, except I didn't want to do it 2 weeks in a row. So I took myself off of this one. Now, of course, I could click here to take that role. Or if I've emailed with somebody or talked with them on the phone and I know that they are available to take the role, I could plug them in on the agenda. But one other thing that I don't think is used enough, if I can get the website to reload a little bit after that, because I'm not going to just assign somebody to the role, but I want to send them a nomination And I want to say, you'd be really great doing this, or you haven't done this in a while. And so this gives me a little space where I can say, you should be our Toastmaster of the day next week. And when I look down here, I can search through, I can just browse through the list. Or if I have somebody in mind, see if I can spell Lieceng, which I may not be able to. Lieceng last did it, oh, not that long ago, apparently. No, that's 2021. All right. So I'm going to send Lieceng a note that she ought to be Toastmaster of the day next week if she's available. And part of the point of doing it this way is I can also send out a message to the whole club saying, here are the openings we have. But if I can send somebody a note that says, you'd be really great for this, or I see you haven't spoken in a while, you ought to take the speaking role, that's one way of helping to fill the agenda. One other tool that I actually haven't used in a while is built into the website. There is this sign-up sheet. Now, this is meant to be printed out on paper and taken to a meeting. I used to do this every week at my brick and mortar club. And then I would come back with the people who had written in their names, and I would enter them in on the website. The tool I use to enter them in on the website is basically the same thing, except it has choices for each of these events. So, one great thing to do, I just nominated Lieceng to be Toastmaster of the day next week. So we won't mess with that one right now. She's going to get an email message, and there'll be a one-click sign-up link that she can click on to accept that role without even necessarily having to enter her password. But a great thing for me to do right now is let's get somebody to be the Toastmaster of the day for the 13th. So let's try and get Toastmasters a couple of weeks in advance. How about actually Toru? I know you're new here, but you're an experienced guy. Can we have you? Let's see, actually so this is showing me that you're a speaker. I think that's that you're a speaker this week. Had you signed up a couple of weeks in advance to speak, Toru? Can you unmute Toru?
Okay, Toastmaster of the day, 13th.
Can you be the Toastmaster of the day on the 13th?
Yeah.
All right.
What do I have to do? Tip of the day.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. I signed you up for the wrong thing. Let's see. Let me make that open again. All right. So I'm showing how simple and easy and intuitive this is. So if I start typing the first few words of his name, I'll find him on the list. And now he's plugged in. So this is maybe a quicker way, rather than having to scan through the whole agenda that has a lot of other verbiage on there. This is just several weeks ahead of time. It's all laid out here. I have kind of this worksheet format where I can assign people to be in these roles several weeks ahead of time. That might be worth trying if we're trying to sign people up at the end of the meeting. A lot of times you're trying to pick on the people who are there, but they're not going to be here next week. Well, sign up for something 2 weeks from now. There is also a place in the website where individual members can go in and sign themselves up a couple of weeks in advance. I'll leave it at that for now because I see a red light on. And let's move on to the rest of the meeting, the non-techie or less techie portions of the meeting, including who will be holding some different roles. I don't think I see Donna Knight here. Donna Knight was going to be our counter. So I'm sorry, I didn't detect earlier that she was not here. But can we get someone to step forward as our counter? Does everybody have a job? I think everybody might have a job. Daniel, I'm going to ask you to be our counter in addition to I'm going to give you something to work with. So the eye counter basically just keep a little tally sheet of who is stumbling in their speaking, either saying and ah, like I do a fair amount, or backing up and saying something twice. These are all little tics that we try and work out of our speech as part of being in the Toastmasters experience.
Do my best.
All
Hey,
right.
David, I have a quick question. You have several tools like the ballot vote counting tool built in under special tools. Lucas had the spreadsheet for keeping track of the ahs and the ums. Is it possible to put that into the program as well?
It's possible. A lot of things are possible, but has not been done yet.
I actually have a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Am I doing the ahs and ums for everyone that speaks or just the main speakers of the night?
Everyone throughout the night, whatever role they have.
Right. So it could even just be somebody who does table topics or who just speaks for a few minutes if they get time.
Do my best.
Not the table topics master.
Nice try, Jim.
That's a joke.
I'll go extra hard just for that.
That is my job, is weaseling out of these things. Our grammarian tonight is Antoinette Trim, who I also think is not here. Carl Walsh, can you be our grammarian? Are you there and available? I see nodding.
Yes,
Can
I
you
can do
can you
that.
tell us what the grammarian does? Who might not be familiar.
Well, what we do is we listen for any improper use of language, but what I think is even more important is some really nice use of language, nice phrases, nice vocabulary. I think that's the best part of it. So I'll be looking for both.
Okay, terrific. We have Marty Sandler as our watcher. And it looks like he may have dropped offline. We'll hope that he's coming back. I'm not going to hold it up, meeting up for that.
I could do the watcher, Adrian. I can do backup for that.
You can do backup for that if he's
Yeah.
not here?
Right,
Okay.
yes.
All right, thank you. Do you want to explain briefly what you will be watching for?
Yeah, I will be watching for your backgrounds to see what's going on. And just to make sure, so if you're eating, make sure you close your mouth, and be within the frame. Thank you. And check your lighting. Thank you. Back to you,
Thank you.
Mr. Toastmaster.
Wonderful. Our chat monitor will be Daniel. Daniel, you've done this a couple of weeks. What does the chat monitor do?
My job is to keep an eye on the chat, and if anything crazy happens, I better speak up about it. But so far, you've all been very polite. Please keep it that way. Back to you, Toastmaster.
All right. Well done. Very concise. Our vote counter this evening will be Dr. Andrew Byrne.
Thank you, David. I'm going to be using David's customized vote counting tool. The only question I have, David, is it's set up for the whole thing at one time. Do you want us to do the voting for everything at the end, or do it as we go?
No, it's not set up for that. You can set up the votes one at a time. So that, and there's a separate link for each contest. So there's a separate link for table topics versus speakers versus evaluators. If you get stuck, you can always fall back to the private chat, but give it a try. That'd be great.
All right.
All right, let's move ahead to the formal speeches portion of our meeting, which is in many ways the centerpiece. And our first speaker is Lieceng Zhu. Her title is To Be, spelled B-E-E. This is from Engaging Humor, Level 2, Learning Your Style. To be Lieceng Zhu.
To be or not to be? That is a question. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bee. A question for you. Is this a female bee or male bee? Please put the answer in the chat box. This is indeed a female bee. Why is that? Because it's working. male bees, they do nothing. They really suck. They cannot even sting. But do not blame the poor guys just yet. If you look into the science of genetics of bees, we will find sympathy, compassion, even admiration for these male bees. As masculine as they look, these guys have a serious issue, a daddy issue. They do not have father at all because they're produced from the eggs without fertilization by sperms from the father. That means they only have mother's genetic makeup with only half of the genetic resources for developing. Yet they grow as fully functioning bees with a larger body size and a bigger eyesight than the female bees who does not have the daddy issue. As they certainly can fly. If you want to put it into perspective, we humans have the similar daddy issue. We look like this. Yeah, remain cells, that's it. Yet these male bees, they have their moment of glory because they mate with queens and contribute to reproduction and growth of the colony. Or I said queendom. But only 10% of male bees have the chance to mate with a queen and leave offspring in the world. The rest, they live, they try, and they die. Is that good life? Maybe, if we truly believe that victory is in the try. The queen bees are majestic, almighty, all efficient, mainly because they're made, not born. All queen bees have humble origins. They have no difference genetically with any other female worker bees. The only reason they become the queen because they're fed with royal jelly. Yet, the process of making the queen is bloody. It's still the Game of Thrones. It has to be brutal. It has to be a matter of life and death. The process goes like this. The workers bee, they select randomly a few eggs to raise as queen hopefuls. Those eggs hatch into larvae. The workers bee then place each of those larvae into a respective cells. Feed them with royal jelly and telling them anything is possible. You could be our queen. Now begins a race. One of those queen hopefuls is going to develop faster than the rest. As soon as this queen, the first one emerged out of its pupa stage, become adult, she's going to look for her competitors. There's no way she can allow her competitor to live because that's just life, the rule of life. She will start to call for them by setting signals. Hey, where are you? And those competitors, they actually answer back honestly. Up here. That allow this first emerged queen of parrot to find them, sting them to death, one by one, before they even see the light. What a tragedy. How stupid and how noble those queen hopefuls are. They accept their fate without fight. They sacrifice themselves willingly for the greater good of the queendom. If that is not nobility, I don't know what is nobility in this world. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for human species. Long live the queen and her privileges. the workers bee. Workers bee, they are princesses because they are daughters of the queen. Yet they have to do all the work just because they can. Just because they don't have a daddy issue. But workers bee seems full of life. It seems happy. Why they happy? Maybe because they are too busy with work, or maybe they don't have a cell phone, or maybe they don't use social media. Back to the question to be, even we say anything is possible, as a bee, there are only 3 choices. It can be a worker bee, born to work and die of work. A queen, majestic, almighty, but into the game as one of those many eggs. And only have 10% of chance to survive to adulthood. Or a drone, a male bee, live an idle life, but only have 10% of chance. They have 10% of chance to mate with a queen and father a colony. Ladies and gentlemen, if you can be a bee, which type of bee you want to be? A worker bee, a queen bee, or a male bee? Please put your answer in the chat box. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you very much. Moving along. Our second speaker for the evening is Toru. You're gonna have to help me on pronouncing your last name right, or correct me if I get it wrong. Maruyama, I guess it is. Toru Maruyama, who is
Maruyama.
Maruyama. Okay.
Yes.
He
Can I-
is a professional communicator, but he's somebody who takes the time to continue to get better. Tonight, he'll be giving a speech from a Pathways project on public relations strategies, but it's based on an opportunity that he had to present to Google Japan about the Toastmasters program. So welcome, Toru, with his speech, an introduction to the Toastmasters program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of Google Japan. My name is Toru Maruyama. I'm in charge of corporate cloud making in Toastmasters Japan. Today, I'm going to tell you one thing and one thing only. You can change your life with Toastmasters. When you learn public speaking seriously for more than 12 months, you can acquire 4 essential skills that you need, not only in your professional career, but also in your private life. And these skills are first, controlling tension while you are speaking in front of a large audience. Second, making a long speech or presentation smoothly and logically. Third, delivering a short impromptu speech at any time, on any topic, in any place. Fourth, organizing an event of 50 to 100 people by yourself. When you become a good public speaker, you can become an excellent leader. Now, many of you must be wondering what public speaking has to do with leadership. And actually, there is a win-win relationship between the two, because public speaking creates a good public speaking would create an excellent leadership, and vice versa. And I will show you two examples. One is this man, Mr. Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. As you well know, this company had grown through his presentations. He generated innovative ideas through his presentations. And those ideas were turned into fine products by his presentations. And then he increased his sales of those products, by his own presentations. Due to his remarkable speaking skills, he could run the company well and raised it eventually the world giant IT company. As some of you may know, that the market capitalization of Apple reached $1.5 trillion. Now, I'm sure the numerous presentations by this man, by this great speaker, had played a decisive role in creating this astronomical value. And this is the evidence that good speaker is a great leader. Next example is Dr. Larry Page and Dr. Sergey Brin, co-founders of Google, your boss. Both of them are very good at explaining complicated things in simple and easy language. And they're also very good at inspiring people and encourage people to make impossible ideas into realities. And I'm sure their magnificent speaking skills was the most influential and powerful driving force that made Google what it is today. So this is also the evidence. Great speakers is a great leader. And these three speakers have common features. They created a great amount of values. And those values made them great leaders. To follow them, the workers and executives of those companies are learning public speaking very seriously. Where do you think they are practicing? In the Toastmasters club of their company. So it is your turn And it is the right time for you to establish your own Toastmasters club in your office in Tokyo. And we can help you. Let's start a full-fledged club to improve yourself, challenge yourself, and above all, create a new value for yourself. You can change your life with Toastmasters. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Toru. Very good. Moving on, our third speaker. Actually, she's speaking only for the second time at this club. I was looking at things, trying to decide whether that could be right, because she's been Toastmaster of the Day. She's been a leader in the club in many ways. But Kim Learning, speaking next, is actually going to be giving her icebreaker. So her more formal introduction to the club. She gave a short speech to qualify for membership, I believe, in a little while ago. But this speech is titled Amazing Blondini, the Magician. From Engaging Humor, Level 1. This is the icebreaker, so 4 to 6 minutes. And I apologize for a timer for not introducing her properly at the beginning. My handy dandy technology use betrayed me because I had scrolled your name off the screen. Anyway, the other two speeches were 5 to 7. This one is 4 to 6. The Amazing Blondini. Kim Learning.
Thank you. Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day, David, fellow Toastmasters, and dear guests. You've already met Kim Leaming, the Toastmaster. Tonight, you're going to meet Blondini, the Magician. Since this is an international club, oh, I'm sorry. Let me start over. Blondini, the Magician. David Copperfield once said, the most important thing is presentation. So online presenters is a perfect place for me to improve my presentation skills and become a better magician. Since this is an international club, I wanted to tell you about a Spanish magician I once saw. He was awesome. He waved his magic wand and then he counted. Uno, dos, and poof, he disappeared without a trace. By show of hands, how many people here appreciate the fine art of magic when performed correctly? I will do my best not to disappoint any of you. $500, and that's all that thing does. There's another $100. Ta-da. If you're wondering about the rabbit, he's no longer in the show. Yeah, he should have never peed in the hat. $8 rabbit, $100 hat. You do the math. I know I can't because I'm Blondini. Now I'd like to show you one of my favorite tricks. I was watching a television program one day, and on there they had a magician. He did an amazing thing with just a few cards. He counted them. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in his hands. Then he threw 1, 2 into a hat. And to my amazement and everyone else's, he still had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in his hands. No matter how many times he threw 1, 2 into the hat, he always had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in his hands. And I can only tell you how stunned I was. Not in a near-death coma like you people are, but stunned nonetheless. I wanted to learn that trick, so I went to the magic store and asked, Magic Dude, do you have the trick where the magician takes 5 cards and then throws 1, 2 toward a hat and still has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in his hands? I said, Magic Dude, that's it. And then Magic Dude said, I'm sorry, Blondini, but we don't have that trick. Well, you can only imagine how depressed I must have become. From here, I can see disappointment in your eyes. But no worries. He said they had a different trick where the magician takes the 5 cards and then he throws 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards into the hat, and he's left with 2 cards, and that's a better trick. So that is the trick that I will do. Another thing I'd like to share with you about Blondini is that I like to take unusual vacations. I got to go on a tour of the US Playing Card Company. There really is such a place. And I got souvenirs. This is a card box, believe it or not. This is what they look like before they're printed. This is what they look like after they're printed. Ooh, much more colorful. But they're not done, not by a long shot. They still have to form it into the shape of a box. Once it's in that shape, that's when the magic happens and you get a deck of cards. So another thing I want to confess is that my magic works best with a brand new deck of cards, like this one, all 52 cards in new deck order. So I feel like my brain is totally connected to the cards. When the cards are in order, my thoughts seem to be in order. But this connection really messes with my head. You see, if I were to shuffle these cards, words might become mixed up a little. Shuffle them more a bit, and words might become confused more even. Imagine, can you now shuffling keepify, understand it one able you be to anything. I digress, but said as before, brain my 2 cards orderly I prefer, in the original state orderly, plus cards of words in my if order and were. Therefore, concentrate I, if enough hard, I cards force can my words back order into. If I concentrate hard enough, I can force my words back into order. And if my words are in order, my thoughts should be in order. If my thoughts are in order, then the cards should be in order. Let's check it out. All the spades, all the hearts, all the clubs, all the diamonds back in new card order. I've enjoyed sharing some insights about my alter ego, Blondini, with you here tonight at my all-time favorite online meeting place. Online presenters, that's it. I'm looking forward to both growing as a Toastmaster and to reinvigorating myself as a magician with my engaging humor pathway here at Online Presenters. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day, David.
All right, thank you, Kim. You know, I was thinking the cliche used to be, well, it's all done with mirrors. And these days the cliche could be, well, it's all done with Zoom filters. I don't know. I think there was some actual skill involved there.
I don't know, because I'm Blondini.
May I can ask our timer to give us a timer's report, belatedly introducing Toastmaster Joni Laidlaw, and maybe you can preview for us what the timing will be for our next segment, Table Topics.
Thank you, our Toastmaster of the Day. For our prepared speeches, our first speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 14 seconds. Our second speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 37 seconds. And the great Blondini spoke for 5 minutes and 28 seconds. As it relates to table topics, I will be changing the background to green at 1 minute, yellow at 1 minute and 30 seconds, and red at 2 minutes. Back to you.
All right, if I heard right, I guess Toru went a little bit over time. So the voting would be between Lieceng and Kim. And because it's an advanced club, we do vote on icebreakers in this club, which some other clubs don't. Every club has its own traditions. Which brings us to the second fabulous portion of the meeting. Another chance to reinvigorate your skills. Oh, wow, I used it twice. With thinking on your feet skills, impromptu speaking skills, led by Topics Master Jim Barber. Hey!
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, my fellow Toastmasters. I was so blown away by that magical performance that I forgot that I was going to be Table Topics Master. So let me kind of get my act together here and see if I can make some table topics magically appear. I'll remind my fellow Toastmasters and our timer that timing for table topics is 1 to 2 minutes. And I would normally call on people who do not have a role. However, I'm pretty sure that everybody has a role. So I'm going to call on those people who have let's say, less complex roles for the evening and start in that direction anyway.
Jim, I will mention that we do have a guest who's
Yes.
an experienced Toastmaster, Eloise Young. Welcome, Eloise, who also is helping me out with the workshop I'm doing tomorrow night on WordPress stuff. And we have Donna Knight, who came into the meeting, who I don't think has been drafted for a role. We drafted somebody else for the role that she was originally going to fill.
I was going to ask if Donna was doing anything, and I had Eloise on my list. I was simply not going to call on her first, but definitely I was moving in that direction. Since David has gotten us started, though, we'll start with Donna because you snuck in. Yeah, there you go. It is relatively common, Donna, for people to lose interest after some period of time, to lose interest in Toastmasters. They burn out, or it's just become the same old thing or whatever like that. How would you reinvigorate someone's enthusiasm for Toastmasters? Donna.
Wow. To help somebody keep his or her excitement for Toastmasters, I can only share my story and some of the things I share with my Toastmasters family. In the beginning, no matter what you're doing, is state your objectives. Why did you join? And life happens and some things derail you in whatever you're doing. But usually we start to improve our public speaking skills. And if you see that happening in your life, you are going to find something else to use Toastmasters to impact that area of your life. One of the first areas Toastmasters impacted for me was my organizational skills. Toru said it. If you have to organize an event for 50 people on your own, you are going to develop organizational skills. And when you develop that, unfortunately or fortunately, your company sees it and you are going to go in that area. One of the things I love to sell is a high performance leadership. And in that, there is nothing you can do that goes wrong because it is supposed to teach you how to be a leader. The Toastmasters program offers so many areas in which you can develop. I have been a distinguished Toastmaster for quite a number of years. And I will continue to use Toastmasters because right now, personally, one of the things I am working on is how to walk into a meeting and present a speech. Why? Because at this stage of my life and my career, you walk into places and they ask you how to present. I learned in Toastmasters that we're always ready. Mark Twain says it best. It takes 3 weeks to write a good impromptu speech. Toastmasters is my 3 weeks for any area of my development where I have to present. And luckily, sometimes it has happened to me before where I've walked in, a presenter's absent, and I get paid to present on the spot. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Donna. Well said. And I'm glad we're being recorded because that would make a great commercial for Toastmasters. I like that. Eloise, you were sort of volunteered. Now, I do not call on guests. I don't like to do that. I like to offer guests the opportunity to participate if they want to. Would you like to participate?
I think it would be very invigorating.
Ooh, all right. Then you not only used the word of the day, but you foresaw my question, or at least one aspect of my question. It is normal for a person, at least I know I do, having a bad day, just having a day where it's not really a bad day, but it's just a blah day. And it's really hard to get excited. If you ever have one of those days, how do you reinvigorate yourself?
That is a fascinating question because sometimes the weather reinvigorates me. It's hard for me to have blah days or bad days in the spring because I love the spring. And the main thing I love about the spring is usually it's not snowing. When I was growing up, I used to think you had to be mean to hate snow,
But then when I started driving, I became a meanie because I hate it. So every day that it's not snowing is a good day for me. I just retired from 36 years working for a utility company. So when it snowed, we were expected to be there. And one of my favorite things in retirement has been being able to choose not to drive in the snow. So whenever I'm having a blah day, or I wake up and I'm not feeling happy, I don't have that smile on my face, I look outside, and when I don't see snow, believe me, Mr. Table Topics Master, my frown turns upside down. I get so happy. I love it. So I just look at the weather, and based on that, I get reinvigorated. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, Eloise. Appreciate that. All right. Now I think, again, everybody else has roles, but I'm going to try to mostly, not a guarantee, but mostly go for those people who have relatively minor roles. So, let's go a little bit broader this time. In the news has been the Great Resignation. Everybody, it seems, is changing careers, and they're losing interest in their old career and looking for a new career, so a new passion in their lives. If you knew somebody that was going through such a loss of passion about their career and they were looking to change careers, how would you suggest that they reinvigorate their passion in life? Carl.
Well, thank you for that question, Jim. That's right down my alley. First of all, I don't call it the Great Resignation. I call it the Great Migration. The people are there, they're working, but they're somewhere else. That's all. And I think this is a very healthy thing that has happened in our country, where people have reevaluated what they're doing and why, and have decided to reinvigorate their lives by having a change of scene and finding something that they can believe in. Another thing that's happening, our employment numbers do not take the gig jobs into account. And a huge part, a very significant part of the workforce these days is involved with that, where they're just doing limited jobs. And when they're done with that job, they move on to the next one. When they're done with that one, they move on to the next one, and they don't count that. And I think a lot of people are doing that because it brings them variety. It brings them, it allows them to do what they want to do, what they're good at. And even before the pandemic, Forbes magazine saw that over 60% of employees wanted out of their jobs. And here's a little secret, because we've been talking about leadership too. It wasn't the job they didn't like. It was their boss they didn't like. And that's a real problem in the workforce. It's a real problem for corporations, which are the ones that are going to suffer most from this whole revolution in the American workforce. But I think it's a good thing that people are out doing it. Leaders are having to change their style. They're having to change their compensation. They're having to give people wages and lives that are worth living. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you, Carl. Great response. I appreciate that. Okay, let's go take a stroll down memory lane. I'd like to know, sometime in your life, when were you ever maybe in the blahs, in the doldrums a little bit about whatever, and you were reinvigorated, or you reinvigorated yourself? Big Turtle, Marty.
Well, I tell you, I've had that problem a couple of times. I guess the time I've had it worst was on my second job. I had gone to work for DuPont. That was my first professional job, and it was great. I woke up, I went to work, I was happy working. Then later on in my career, I wound up with a different large company that, I don't know, it just didn't seem to offer anything interesting to do. Oh, they had plenty to keep me busy, but the job of my boss would have been a good fit for Simon will agree, because all he could think of was, okay, you know what you're doing. You could do more. You could do more. You could do more. No thanks. That's not invigorating, even though it sounds like it might be. So after a while, I just couldn't stand anymore. And I came home, said to my wife, I don't think this is a good fit for me. I think I should depart. Since she had resigned from a similar job not too long before that, she agreed. And at that time, we were living in California. We said, enough to this, we're heading back to Florida. And I've been there ever since. And at this point, I'm happy as alive. Back to you, Topics Master. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Big Turtle. Appreciate that. Appreciate that look back. Appreciate that. All right, let's see. When I mentioned earlier,
Mr. Topics Master, I
Oh.
do see the timekeeper is sort of waving, I think,
Yeah.
saying that's got to be it.
we're out of time. Do we have any? Okay, we're out of time. That'll have to do it then. Madam Timer, how did everybody do time-wise?
For our speakers, distinguished Toastmaster Donna Knight spoke for 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Toastmaster Eloise spoke for 1 minute and 13 seconds. Toastmaster Carr spoke for 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And Toastmaster Marcy spoke for 1 minute and 55 seconds.
So everybody qualified.
Everyone qualified.
Outstanding. Then would you please pass your votes, or are we going to get a magic vote counting thing in the chat?
Okay, there's the first one.
All right, here it comes. Would you please cast your votes for your favorite table topics response this evening? And while you are doing that, I will return control to our Toastmaster of the day, David Carr.
You have to paste it into the chat if you're going to do it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
It keeps disappearing when I'm doing the table topics.
If you click on where the link is, there should be a little pop-up that says copied, and then if you paste into the chat, again, if it's more hassle than it's worth, just tell people to send you a private chat message.
Send me a private chat for the
Okay.
speaker and for the table topics. The speakers tonight were Lieceng and Toru, and lastly, Kim Learning.
All right, terrific. Well, let's move on to the final portion of our meeting. Some would say the most important portion of our meeting, because it's when we get immediate feedback on how we've done as speakers or in other roles to some extent, but particularly for the speakers. We'll have our evaluation portion of the meeting led by our general evaluator, Sarah Idahan.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster for today, David. Right now, we're going to be all reinvigorated by the evaluations of our speakers. Our first speaker was Lieceng Zhu, and her evaluator was Graham Kahns. Please welcome Graham for his evaluation.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, Toastmasters, friends. I have to say that I was genuinely invigorated by Lieceng's tale of bees. I thought that the humor was particularly effective. And Lieceng asked me whether she thought the humor was working and whether she was getting the audience reaction, because of course she had slides and things and so couldn't really be watching the audience. And I was looking around the room and I noticed that the audience was pretty much smiling all the way through and sometimes laughing out loud, which is a good sign, particularly in an online environment, because you can't hear other people laughing. So if you laugh out loud, it means that you are genuinely finding it funny. It's not just that you're reacting to everybody else. So well done, Lieceng. I thought that worked well. Your use of chat for interaction, I thought was good as well. Although one observation I would make here, not just for Lieceng, but for everybody, is if you're going to use the chat or you're going to ask a rhetorical question that requires a show of hands, refer back to what the show of hands says. So I see that the majority of you here are saying you'd like to be the queen, or I'm surprised at the number of you who say you'd like to be the drone, or whatever it is that you're. So let us know what the response is.
Mm-hmm.
The use of images I thought was quite effective. They kept Lieceng at the front. And one of the problems that we face when we're using the full screen for a PowerPoint slide, which, for example, we saw with Toru, is that it left Toru off to the side, whereas Lieceng stayed at the center. And Jim Barber has made this point on more than one occasion that you should be the star of the show, and tonight you were, but your images were effective. They drew our attention to what it is that you were making points about. With a couple of minor exceptions, you used Mike Carr's "the effort is the achievement," and I laughed at that, at least inwardly, but I knew what the reference was that you were making. Anybody here who hadn't seen Mike Carr's speech may not have drawn that connection. So sometimes you need to bludgeon the audience over the head to say, the point that I'm making here is. You were much more effective with the Game of Thrones reference, which you made earlier in the presentation, and then the slide which you used toward the end. The only other suggestion that I would make for you, Lieceng, is that there was a lot of information here and it was delivered in a very short amount of time. One thing that you might have done is asked, can I make this a 10 to 12 minute presentation? And if we have the room, that can be made available, or take a little bit of the information out. It's just that there was so much information that it was quite dense. But I thought that your ability to extract the pollen of information about bee genetics and using the royal jelly of your years of experience as an educator to turn that into the sweet, sweet honey of knowledge was something that we should all be aspiring to. Congratulations on a well-delivered presentation. Thank you, Lieceng. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Evaluator Graham. Our next speaker was Toru Maruyama, and his evaluator is Adrian Williams. Please welcome Adrian for that evaluation. You are muted, Adrian.
Sorry about that. Fellow Toastmasters and Toru. The objective of this speech is that you were to deliver a well-organized speech about a real or hypothetical public relations strategy. This was about introducing a corporate club to Toastmasters. You did a great job organizing the presentation. I thought it was a great opportunity for you to use multiple skills, your verbal speaking, your vocal variety, as far as talking about some of the different people that also showed leadership experience from being a part of speaking, like Apple, like Google. Those were great things. Some of the things that you could have also done to incorporate in your speech was to incorporate things for people who were not necessarily coming to Toastmasters for leadership, like time management, evaluations, accountability, and some of the other reasons to be a part of a club. Because if everyone is coming to lead, no one's going to want to fill the roles. So that is a good thing for you to remember. The one thing I would like to say is that find a way to incorporate your personality into the speech, because at the end of this, we buy you. We buy the speaker, the person that's speaking and doing the speech. We want to know your personality and feel your passion for speaking come through. And that's one of the things that you always have to remember. It is important to engage the audience because some people were kind of distracted during your speech. So it's important to always come back to them or say something to re-engage them into the speech so they are reinvigorated in what you're talking about. You did a great job as far as the presentation. I thought that was great. For a beginner, I don't even feel comfortable doing the presentation online, and you did a great job. You had excellent slides. You didn't have too much content on the slides. You kept it simple with a few points, which was great for your time because I was watching your time and where you were to see how you ran out. But the key to that is like simple math, just add it up. If I have 5 points, it's going to take me a minute for each point. That's 5 minutes. I only have 7 minutes to speak, and that'll help you to control your time better. But overall, you did a great job. I am glad that you're a part of our club. I look forward to hearing more speeches from you and to see your personality. We want to see you get excited about being a part of Toastmasters because we all love it. We come back year after year, and that is what's going to encourage people to join your club. Thank you. Back to you. I always get confused, so I'm going to give it back to
General Evaluator.
General Evaluator. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Evaluator Adrian, for that wonderful evaluation. The next, third speaker was Kim Leaming, and her evaluator is Carolyn Ramirez. Please welcome Carolyn for that evaluation.
Thank you. Maybe you know, maybe you didn't know, but Kim is a professional magician. And today we had the privilege to see her, the icebreaker for her alter ego. 1 month ago, she gave an icebreaker telling us who she was and etc. But now was the time to tell us about her professional hobby and show us her talents. And instead of telling the story about magic and about her tricks, she showed us how good she is. And that was amazing. Kim, you made me smile, you made me clap, and now was time to, and you asked me to put a special attention in how you present your show in front of a camera this time. And here are the things I noticed. The time management was perfect because you chose 3 tricks, and that was great for the time you had, and we could see your talents. You had a great eye contact, you used the space very well, you used humor, and everyone, the audience was entertained and paying attention to your show. And something to challenge yourself for look more professional, and because you are in front of a camera, not in person, maybe you could use a custom in order to enhance your show in front of a camera because it's more difficult. And I can say that you achieved the objective. We were able to get to know better your alter ego, showing us what you do great, magic. And looking forward to see your next speeches because you're very good using humor, and this is very difficult. Back to you, Miss General Evaluator.
Thank you, Evaluator Carolina. At this time, we're going to call on our functionary roles, the timer to give us the timing for the speeches, for the evaluations, and then also ask for the vote.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Our evaluators reinvigorated our speakers. Toastmaster Graham did it in 3 minutes and 26 seconds. Toastmaster Adrian did it in 2 minutes and 29 seconds. And Toastmaster Carolina did it in 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
Thank you. So please send your votes over to the vote counter, Andrew Byrne. Our next person that we're going to ask to give a report is the chat monitor. And our chat monitor, I believe, is Daniel. So please welcome Daniel. Okay.
So The chat was very civil. We did have some, I think it came to life most when we were reviewing Blondini, and I also participated because I think you outdo Dr. Strange. And so everybody was very lively and engaged, so, and also very polite. So great job. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Daniel. Next, we'll have our grammarian, and our grammarian is Carl Walsh. Please welcome Carl for his report.
Yes, thank you for that. This is going to be very short, very, very easy. Grammar was across the board very, very good this evening. I will just say to Lieceng that in a few places you became difficult to understand. So you always be sure that you keep a slower pace and enunciate. One thing to work on is the E sound. Queen was very difficult to understand. Also, one thing that I did notice was that you referred many times to workers' bees, and it's worker bees. But that's, I mean, I'm quibbling here, okay? Toru, the only thing I could see there was that you mentioned, I think it was 16 months, and you said 16 month. So you're kind of the opposite from Lieceng. Blondini, great that you come up with a name like that. That is very memorable, which is why I often call myself Graydini. And that, you know, people will remember that. Our word of the day today, well, here's the honor roll. David, Daniel, Eloise, Jim, myself, Graham, Adrian, and Joni. And finally, on the really fun side of grammar, Graham, using at the end of your evaluation, your stinging wit, when you waxed poetic about honey references, and it was so good, I got hives. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Grammarian, Carl Walsh. Next, we'll have the R counter, Daniel.
Okay, so we have some very yin and yang on this because Lieceng, I only counted one instance where you kind of forced quickly something in the sentence. And on the other end, I think, Carl, I hate to call you out, but I think you had the most ums and ahs. But and look, speaking online is hard. I don't blame anyone, but honestly, for the most part, everyone I just did it right there. Everything went very good, but really, aside from calling out the one person, and there were a few runner-ups as well. But anyway, back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Arcana Daniel. Next, we have our watcher, Adrian Williams.
Hello, fellow Toastmasters. I just have to say I love the backgrounds. Of course, it's Memorial Day, so I had to take the opportunity to find one, and I noticed Kim did also, and also Andrew. Thank you for the flag. And then I have to give special recognition to Carl too, who honored Ukraine and the US, which was awesome. I have to say, Joni, I like that red light concept with the timer, the red, yellow, green. And I really especially like that you put it back to normal for people that are doing table topics, because sometimes when we change it up, I still get nervous speaking. I don't know why, but I do. And so I can't remember what in the world is the red, blue. And so I'm talking on, my time is up and I don't even know what the symbol is. So I appreciate that you put it to the standard red, yellow, green. So for table topics. Also for Daniel, I just did the cartoon background. Sarah, the background with the Toastmasters, Donna as well. And Graham, I noticed you have that too. And then for Jim Barber, I felt invigorated when I saw the lady jumping up and down in your background. So good way of getting that word there. So thank you everybody for participating in the backgrounds. It's so creative to watch us and see what you guys are going to come up with. And you too, Lieceng. Thank you so much. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Adrian. At this time, our vote counter was Andrew Byrne. He has put it in the chat, but I was wanting him to just tell us how it went. Tell us who the winners are.
Thank you very much. This was very challenging. Each time we had a contest, we had almost completely tied. Obviously, one person came out ahead, and I put that in the chat box. So that leaves us with the winners of the day as considered the best speaker, Kim Learning, Table Topics, Donna Knight, evaluator Carolina Ramirez. And you'll notice that if the changing colors is challenging for you, there's an app right here as part of the App Store within Zoom that allows you to pull out a timer. And when you do that, you can have the timer have the clock show up right on your frame, and you can, it doesn't change colors or anything, but it just gives you a direct number. So I've hit my 0. It's notified me I've done 1 minute, and you can do that too if you want to. It's a free thing. You just go to apps on the bottom. It's right next to reactions, and you can download a number of different things. Back to you.
Thank you,
Now,
Mr.
Ira.
Vote. Just have to say thank everybody for participating tonight. I think we had a fantastic and very reinvigorating meeting with some excellent table topics as well as some excellent evaluations. I think if anybody is wanting to improve, the evaluations you got tonight will help you do just that. Everybody did such a marvelous job on those evaluations. Started on time, and we did a lot of good active listening. So back to you, Mr. Toastmaster David.
All right, wonderful. Where are we on time? We're on 3 minutes before the hour, according to my clock. So that's pretty good. That goes back to our timer. That goes back to everybody who kept the meeting organized, despite me being the person running it. So if you can stay organized despite me, then you're doing well. Let's see. Let's hear from our guests. I mentioned that Eloise is actually joining me for a workshop I'm doing on the WordPress stuff tomorrow night. I wanted to make it a little bit less of a monologue. So we have 3 different club. I don't know whether you consider yourself to be the webmaster, but you're one of the people who comes back to me and says, it's not working right, David. Make it work better, or at least explain it to me. Eloise, though, I'm babbling. Tell us what you thought of the online presenters meeting. I don't think you've been here before.
I had a ball. I think it was Carolina when she was doing the evaluation, and she talked about how difficult it is to do humor. And so it was amazing to me how funny both of the humorous speakers were tonight. They were actually funny. So I love the meeting. I'll be back, and I really had a good time. I'm with the Bell Noon Timers.
Okay. And is that, where is that in the world? I'm not sure. Is it?
It's in
Pennsylvania?
Philadelphia. It's in Pennsylvania, but we're online.
Okay.
We've been online since I've been a member. It's always been online.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering to what extent Toastmasters becomes very much an online organization.
I don't know.
Despite itself, not necessarily willingly, but a lot of folks are having trouble getting their people back to meeting in person. Is my impression. I don't know. I've spoken with Toastmasters international officers who say, "Oh no, people want to get away from this online stuff," which I think is true to some extent too. That a lot of people don't really like it. They thought it wasn't what they signed up for, but I'm with a 7 a.m. Friday morning club. A lot of those people have decided that not having to get up early in the morning and drive to the meeting place, that's pretty good. They're sleeping in late. Gotta kick them in the butt. Let's see. So I think Eloise is our only actual visitor. Does anybody else have anything that they want to announce before we wrap up for the evening and stop the recording and all that? Any business announcements to Dr. Graham?
Just one thing I was going to, it is, as you mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, Memorial Day, and every country has its own variation on Memorial Day. For Canadians and those in the United Kingdom, for example, it's on the 11th of November, which is Remembrance Day, which is Veterans Day in the US, but it's different for those other countries. There's a poem quite a long poem, which was written by English poet and writer Lawrence Binyon, called For the Fallen. Now, I don't want to read all of it, but there is an ode from it, which is something that is read every evening at Return Service League clubs in Australia. And I thought on this Memorial Day, if I could, I'd like to, if I've got 20 seconds, they shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them, lest we forget.
Thank you, Graham. Wonderful note to end on, and
I'd also
well,
like
it's a wonderful and solemn note to end on. I'm sorry. Daniel?
I'd also like to kind of piggyback off of Graham. There's a song by artist Tyler Kelly that's a very much Memorial Day song, and I will leave it there. Please look it up on YouTube. It's a very good song. And if you've lost somebody in any capacity, military, otherwise, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you, Daniel. All right, I'm going to stop the recording and